So this happened when I was a kid. I have 6 siblings, and we're all around the same age. All children at the time. In my dad's old house, there was a, obviously fake, Mona Lisa. My dad picked up from a thrift store painting and hung up along the stairway, facing directly onto the top floor, where all our bedrooms were. One thing all me and my siblings could agree on was that this painting spooked the shit out of us. We wouldn't even go downstairs for a glass of water because it felt like it was watching us, though our parents thought we were just being usual scared kids. Eventually, due to warn around the painting, my dad eventually took it down and left it in the shed, which had no door on it. We were very, very poor back then. Nobody really went into the shed, as it was mainly used to store tools, Christmas decorations, etc. When my dad went back in around 6 months later, presumably water vapor or something had hit this painting, and underneath the layer of paint from the Mona Lisa, there was a very clear painting of demons, scary faces, and satanic reference. My dad got rid of the painting, of course. It freaked us all out, as none of us had any idea it was there. Could have been creepy coincidence, could have been more. I don't know what to title this. This happened a few years back at the campground. Big white shell, for anyone interested. I was sitting on the beach with my brother and 2 cousins we often went camping with. It was later in the evening, maybe about 11:30 p.m. during the month of August. Maybe later, not 100% sure on the time anyways. As we were sitting there, digging in the sand, as we were still kids then, I happened to look up, and out in the distance, at either the best or worst time, because I saw someone or something very tall in the distance. It walked right out of the water and straight into the woods. Being 12 at the time, it freaked the shit out of me. So naturally, me and my brother went to investigate, while our cousins stayed behind. There was no footprints, no paths, or anything from the figure to go. It was just pure woods. Now, the next morning, there was RCMP officers coming camp to camp asking if anyone had heard any cries for help that night due to someone who went canoeing and drowned in the lake. After hearing that, I wondered, even to this day, that maybe the figure I saw was the man who drowned finding his way to the surface. Not sure. Not the most scariest of ghost stories, but just a memory that always stuck with me, and something that spooked the shit out of me. And still does when I think about it. I am 21 years old, and up until last month, I thought I had met my grandmother's father in person. This is long, so bear with me. Now that I'm older and able to better communicate my memories, I'm learning I was quite the lightning rod for spiritual activity. One of the things that made it stand out the most was something that occurred recently. Dots were connected. Everything happened over the span of my life. I have always had a very strong tie to my great-grandfather Leo, though I only met him when much younger, or so I had thought. One of my most vivid memories, that is basically a core memory for me, is when I went to visit my family in Washington. I was about 2 when this happened. I remember the home we entered, picking out a stuffed animal from my great-grandmother's collection, then going on walks. One of the walks I remember the most was walking down the sidewalk, holding an old man's hand. It was sunny, we were in the shade, and he kept asking me, "Do you want to see the money trees?" Of course I want to see these so-called money trees. Well, he walked me down the sidewalk, and we stopped in front of a flowering tree. Not a single dollar on it, obviously. He didn't miss a beat. "That's a money tree. Let's go." 19 years later, I tell my mother about this memory, and she cannot for the life of her figure out who I am talking about. We did not travel with my grandparents that year. It was just her, my father, and I. I tell my grandmother about the story, and she was in shock for a bit. I could not figure out why she was so surprised. Turns out her father Leo used to walk her all over Washington and show her these money trees. Me and my grandmother both took time describing the plant and both ended up with the same answer. It didn't raise much question for me. I relayed this to my mom. It makes sense that my grandpa Leo would show both me and Nana the money trees. She was confused and told me that, in fact, I had never met my grandfather the year we had visited, and I had not visited with any older males in the family. But we were there to visit my great-grandfather, Leo's grave, who had passed away before I got to fly down and meet him. This part I don't remember, and my mother told me. While I was at his grave, my mother tells me that I ran up to another person's grave who had a puppy dog statue and began petting it. She told me to stop. Without missing a beat, I spun around and said, "Grandpa said I can pet the puppy," and I went back to touching the statue. My grandfather raised and trained dogs throughout his life. I have tons of other stories similar to this. So it was about 12:20ish, and since I'm a night owl, I was up late as usual. I got the urge to go to the bathroom, so naturally I went. Me and my siblings' rooms are attached to each other's linear form, so I exit my room to enter her room to get to the upstairs bathroom. It's shaped like an L, with the door leading to the hallway upstairs. It's so close, I have to close the other to enter one. I enter the bathroom. My sister is in a deep sleep. My parents are in their room down the hallway. My brother is watching YouTube or something downstairs on his phone. So I'm on the toilet, phone in hand, and halfway through the process, the bathroom closet is in the same L position with the bathroom door, and the door to the hallway is almost fully closed. And my house is very loud, so loud in fact that when you're downstairs, you can hear someone upstairs walking across the entire house and downstairs. Don't even get me started on the doors or my sister's bed. I hear a knock come from the direction of the door and a thunk, thunk, thunk pattern. I respond with, "I'm in here," no response. Now usually I would either hear them return to the room or ask me to hurry up because they need to use the bathroom or get something. They kept knocking. So I said, "Yo, I'm in here," but they kept knocking. I get pretty angry now and raise my voice saying stuff like, "Can you just go away? And damn, stop already." The knocking finally stops, but is replaced with a deep and audible mumble. At this point, I get a little freaked out because it doesn't sound like anyone I know. Not only that, but my mom is the only one that speaks when she needs to use the bathroom. But she sounds like she is kinda angry-ish, a crusty grunt with every word but loud. She would usually get up for work at 3:20, but it was her off day. And then I thought, I never heard my sister get up from her bed. Never heard a door creak open and the air shift in the room. I never heard footsteps or the stairs, or even then they don't knock. They just try the handle. I ask, "What?" to get them to speak louder, but they don't. The mumble stops and the knocking starts again. At this point, I'm finishing up as fast as I can, while almost yelling curse words at the door. As soon as I get up, it stops. I walk over to the door and open the door, and I see my sister is fast asleep. I swear to the almighty Jesus, I felt something was behind me, but it took all my strength not to turn. I walk down the hallway with my parents still in their room, and when I get close to the door, I can hear them snoring. I walk downstairs while pretending as if I didn't just go through that, because I was so paranoid after that. I go downstairs and ask my brother if he heard anybody get up and open any doors, or if he tried to use the upstairs bathroom, and he replied with a confused no. He asked why, and I tell him what happened. We converse on the topic for a little bit. Then he says, "What if it came from the closet?" This is a true story. I wished it wasn't. I had a hard time sleeping after, but at least I can share it now. Hey, first post on the subreddit. After reading a few stories on here, I decided to share a story that confuses and freaks me out till this day. I have no clue what to really think on the situation. Any comments of ideas or whatever will be great. A little story what happened before the experience. So me and my family, me, my mom, and her boyfriend, had gone to a place called Longleat House a couple years back on a tour type of thing. Walking around, you learn a little of the lore and get to see some really nice rooms. The whole time we were there, I felt really uneasy and pretty on edge. All through the tour, you learn about the house and what went on at different places, specifically murders and the talk of different figures being seen walking around and stuff. This made me feel even more on edge. There was this one point where I looked down a barred off dark corridor, thinking to myself, I'm gonna see something spooky. I then began to freak out as I saw a small girl walk in one of the shadows. After taking another look, I saw it was a projector in the ceiling. It was a joke to scare people, and I fell for it. That isn't really necessary to the story, but I thought you may find it funny. But anyway, a little later on I found out that my mom was feeling really uneasy too. She's into a lot of spiritual stuff. I don't know a lot about it, but she asked if we could leave because of the feeling of bad energy or something. The exit was through the basement, old servants' quarters, which had been renovated into a cafe. But in order to get there, you have to walk down these stairs and around a corner. After walking down the stairs and turning, the cafe was in sight. I started to relax a little due to almost being out. All of a sudden, I felt this sharp feeling on my back of my neck. Something that I can only describe as a sharp fingernail scratch. I thought it may just be one of my families playing a trick on me until I realized they were in front of me. I spun around and didn't see anyone behind me, and the turn was quite a distance behind us, leaving out the chance of someone doing it and running. To this day, I don't know what happened, but damn did I leg it out of the place and continue to freak out until I got home.